So the whole old vine discussion is an interesting one. You see it on bottles, but what does it actually really mean? So Mike, is an old vine really producing fruit that's of higher quality, or what's your
Absolutely,
take?
without doubt. I think that the essential part of old vine is purely the age, the maturity, the balance that they achieve that young vine material just can't get. So when you're drinking or growing old vine material, there's a lot more character there, and that character is built naturally, and obviously it comes from the soil up. The fact that we're dealing with 80 to 100-year-old vines in our region is quite extraordinary. And I think one of the amazing varieties that we grow in this region is Grenache. It hasn't been talked enough about. It hasn't been drunk enough, and I think we have a fantastic opportunity right here, today, to be able to put old vine Grenache into bottle, to educate people about it, to show them, okay, why is old vine so fantastic? And the answer really is in the soil.
Yeah.
And the fact that they mature slower. It's like a mature individual. At 20 you're going to go out and do a lot of things you wouldn't do at 40 and 60. So I think, at 60 and 80 year old, these old girls and boys, they find their balance. They can survive extremes in heat. They can survive cold temperatures, and they find a balance, which I think, look, the proof is in how fantastic these bunches look. It's like, okay, so we're going towards the end of our season, and these are in great nick and still, showing beautiful natural colour, bloom, etc. And that flavour. We're still 2 weeks away from picking this variety, but it's building its intensity, but it doesn't get rushed into having to achieve something really quickly. It finds its balance naturally, and it speaks for itself, I think.
And McLaren Vale is just flush with all this fantastic old vine material, and it's so good that they've hung on to it, because there was a period of time in the history of Grenache where it was kind of relegated to port production, wasn't it?
Totally.
It wasn't really table wine material, but it's so nice to have that material.
In the 40s and 50s, that's all that was being made was from the old vine material was fortifieds. Then we had in the 80s there was the vine pool, and majority of people, so the government actually paid people money to go through and pull vines out because they thought there was an excess. Unfortunately, a lot of those vines that got pulled out were these 80 and 100-year-old vines at that stage. I suppose the hardcore growers, right, what they did is they came together and said, hang on a minute, this is our heritage, right? And fortunately for us, our generation, they've hung on to those old vines, right? And now we're being able to make wines out of this magnificent material.
What really people should be aware of is the fact that even if you're paying $1 or $2, maybe even $3 or $4 extra for a bottle of old vine Grenache from McLaren Vale, you're getting this wine from
exactly.
Unbelievable plant material.
You're getting the opportunity to walk into some amazing heritage.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And I think, look, I agree. That if it costs you an extra couple of bucks, it's actually worth it, because the heritage, the site of where this has come from, the fact that they're achieving a balance at their age is quite extraordinary. And I think one of the key points about McLaren Vale Grenache that sets it apart from the rest of the world that produces Grenache is purely where we're standing. The old vines is what sets it apart, and you get the flavour profile. And I mean, Grenache can be made into rosé, right? And majority of that comes off young vines. You're not going to make rosé out of these wines, these vines, because you're going to make something that's full-bodied, very, very serious wine. And some of the oldest Grenaches I've actually tasted, or some of the oldest wines I've tasted from this region, have been Grenache, right? So they cellar beautifully, and we just don't understand enough about them. And I suppose that's our job, to educate people and say, okay, well look, this is off 80 and 100-year-old vines. Yeah, it's going to cellar beautifully, and the flavours are extraordinary.
So that's the message. Get out, drink more McLaren Vale Grenache, eh?
That's it.
Good
Absolutely.
stuff.